We are all living in a pandemic. That means different things to different people, even in the same country. In 2021, you could live in Utah, where we have Utah County being a large COVID hotspot spreader event central. Then you can look 700 miles west and see California locked down while their governor ignores his orders to the peasants, tilling and toiling on the land. Poor bastards. Screw them, am I right? I mean, isn't that the point of politics? To pretend you're actually going to do something, then immediately about face because someone gave you a handy with a billfold to seal the happy ending? We're so weird. We propagandize our children to think things like, you can be anything you want to be, but then don't even believe it ourselves. So we set our kids up to have their dreams crushed since we have no authentic way to pursue something where we have no grounding belief. When the crushed dreams remove any desire to chase it, we falter and peter out. So we totally just package our own fears and give them to our children. We're living Pink Floyd song Mother off the wall, disc 1. We are such psychological cowards. We're so afraid of our own shadows. Someone questions our beliefs, like, do you believe in God? How dare you? Let me clutch my pearls in offense as I tell you how much of an independent thinker I am as I harvest my independent thoughts from corporate networks. Bruh, red or blue, people be offended that you don't just buy their bullshit that they themselves don't even believe. Weird as we are, though, what happens when you make meaningful connections with others? How do you do that? Maybe by being able to laugh at yourself and enjoy living life? I find myself in my own head wondering who thinks my weird thoughts, and I literally laugh out loud. I seek to amuse myself even more. Keeps me on my toes. Sometimes those thoughts lay my inner interlocutor bare. Let me share with you a quick story about when a couple good Mormon missionary boys came to my house. They were only supposed to be there for 15 minutes. I spent 25 minutes talking to them while commanding the conversation 90% of the time. Those poor kids. They had no idea. I was playing sludge metal, The Ocean, Age of Sea Scorpions. I was relaying how their screaming is materializing into existence, their world, much like when God was said to have made the world from nothing. Self-actualization. Yeah, bro, I went deep. These kids probably have never had a single psychology class, and I'm going into Jungian archetypes, ideas of roots reaching down into hell in order to aspire into heaven. They were so enthralled with what I was saying, and I bet many people are rude and dismissive to them. So eventually they scope out my books, and one of them, one talking to me the least, sees a book and asks if he can touch it. Yeah, man, go for it. Pulls it out. His face is like he's transported somewhere else. My dad used to read this book, he said. You see, humans can't help but make connections. Like, what does this mean? This coincidence that this dude, old enough to be my dad, giving me fatherly, sage-like psychological advice, has a book that reminds me of something important? My own father? What does this mean? Maybe, like Jung said, we often miss God because we don't look low enough. Hold that thought a second now. So they left, They stayed nearly 3 times longer than they should, and I barely gave them a chance to escape. Oh, bro, I'm going through social isolation. You're damn right. I'm gonna talk your ear off. If you're sitting on my couch, you're in my house. Well, a month goes by, and the dude who looked at my book reaches out to me via text. He coordinates with a new companion, right? A new missionary. His new companion said like 0 words. But he knew he was in the lion's den and was like Bambi, just ill-equipped to participate in any conversation. Well, a kid I did know came prepared. He knew I was a clever dude, so he thought he would impress me. I was talking to him about my ideas about God. He told me that God is, and I quote, omnicompetent. First thought in my head was this motherfucker right here. What does that even mean? How much thought has this kid even applied to what this word means? So, a grin I'd expect to appear on Tom Hiddleston's face as he's about to play a trick on someone as Loki appeared on my face. Look, man, I'm just mortal. I don't know how to think in terms of omnipotence or even what omnicompetence even means. He was so excited, this poor bastard. He was waiting for this moment. Waiting. Yes. In his head, he's probably thinking, God brought me here, and the conversation turned right where I needed it. He threw his arms out like he had a look on his face as if he was basking in the glory of Christ right there, and said, no one does. As if that was self-evident as to why this was so amazing. No one does. No one understands, is what he's telling me. No one understands this. I gave him no time to follow that up with any other thoughts at all. I immediately pounced. This is my Loki trick. Knowing that he thought I walked into his trap, but lo and behold. So why do we use language that we don't understand to conceptualize the greatest good we can think of? How is that in any way a benefit to us? I spent about 2 minutes talking about this. 2 minutes. If you can tell by now, I can say a lot in 2 minutes. And if you know you are woefully unprepared to contest my ideas, what happens when someone says stuff that just makes so much sense? I gave him what I felt was a better way of thinking. What is the greatest idea of goodness of which you can conceive? Yet, I was so open about how secular I am. This kid right here, the omnicompetent fuck. Jesus Christ, omnicompetent. What does it mean that I can describe my idea of goodness in such a degree that he could probably draw a decent picture even if he was not a good artist, and yet he leaves me with a word that he thinks is miraculous because he doesn't understand it? A kid wielding a sword without even knowing how to swing it. Our naivete makes us morons, which sets us up to look like morons. I could have made that kid feel terrible by making fun of him. I instead shared with him my love, my idea of secular Jesus. To be fair, I didn't share with him that he, secular Jesus, looks like Buddy Christ, but by the end, this kid was shaking. Shaking. You ever see on a nature program where a predator comes up on a baby deer and it doesn't run? It just stands there and shakes? Yeah, like that. Having conversations with people is so much fun, especially when I'm willing to reveal my utmost and innermost thoughts that help me understand my highest ideals. It makes me a better person, through and through. The funny thing is, this kid, when he was leaving my house the first time, told me that he likes being humbled. Why? Because it gives you the most access to God, essentially. It opens your heart and mind up. Well, humble I did. And he shook like a frightened prey animal. What happens when you know what you think and you love life and almost nothing anyone can say can bum you out for long? What happens then when Mormon boys, who may look, you know, as a nuisance, you treat with dignity and respect? You allow them into your home and treat them as people and reciprocate their way of communicating, in that you share with them your greatest ideas of goodness. At worst, it allows you to put into language that which you value most in your life. There's no world where that is not a benefit. At best, you get a lot of amusement by seeing people struggle with their own inadequacies and struggle where they don't even believe what they say but wish beyond anything that they did. You see someone say a word like omnicompetent, then faced with his own severe, naive incompetence. If he truly likes to be humbled, that's when Christ's love hits hardest. Bruh, I set him up for a divine trip like no other. I'll call that a win in my book.